the Interim Dean and Head of School of the Graduate School of Business and Leadership. I welcome you to the webinar series hosted by the school. And firstly, a few webinar protocols. Our guest will present for roughly 45 minutes. Any questions that participants may have, we request you please use the Q&A button to send these through, and which will be addressed after the presentation. The aim of the GSB&L webinar series is to empower postgraduate students, alumni, and business partners with information that will enable them to navigate the unprecedented challenges presented by the COVID-19 pandemic, and which has affected the workforce and livelihoods across the globe. Today, we are delighted to welcome our guest, Emma El-Karut, whose webinar theme is The End of Work as We Know It, Infinite Possibilities and a New World of Work. Emma is the founder of One Circle HR, an online platform connecting companies virtually with freelance HR consultants on demand. One Click went live in 2020 and featured multiple times in Forbes.com with a community of 300 HR consultants from around the world. Her objective is to improve and enhance quality of life through diverse work options. She is particularly focused on retaining experienced workers in the economy post-retirement. Without any further ado, the virtual stage is all yours, Emma. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for having me, and thanks, Prof. I appreciate the introduction. I'm really happy and that we are having this discussion today. What could be actually a better time than to start thinking differently? And I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about the open talent market, but as well, I'm going to talk to you about how we need to approach this new world with actually an open talent mindset, which is very important, whether you are a talent, whether you are a business owner, whether you are in services, selling a product, whatever that is. We need to start thinking differently of how we approach our business, but also how we approach the talent that we are hiring or we are reaching out to. I will share my screen with you. I did prepare a presentation that I'm going to walk you through. Okay, it's coming. So when we talk about the end of work as we know it, there's a very important question that I always like to start with, and it's our perception actually of why is it that we work? So why do we work? And a lot of people, when you ask them this question, the first thing that comes to mind is, I do work because I need to sustain my family. I need to take care of my responsibilities. We need money and income in order to do that. But naturally, when we think about work, this shouldn't be the answer. Naturally, the answer should be because it's motivating, it is exciting, it helps me to come out of bed in the morning, gives me an additional reason to live, etc. Now, however, the reality is completely different. The reality is a lot of people go to work, so when work is done and is finished, their life will actually start. And So this whole older way of working is broken. And there's a lot of people that have been talking and preaching about that for a long period of time. And everybody was talking about remote work, flexible work, etc. Whereas a lot of companies have been resisting this new way of working. So I recall 18 months ago, when a lot of conferences, webinars, workshops, etc., were around the future of work, and I'm sure a lot of you last year have been invited to a lot of those events. And the future of work has been all around the introduction of AI, robotics, technology. Are the robots going to take our jobs, etc.? So all of those thoughts were the subject of discussion of thought leaders, businesses, etc. And how are we going to be ready? A lot of us were saying, let alone the fourth industrial revolution, we are not even on the third industrial revolution in some countries. Now, having said that, today we've gone beyond the fourth industrial revolution. Today, businesses have flicked a switch and they have gone completely remotely, most of them. And just because of the need to do that. So if we take a step back and we think, okay, so how is this future of work talk and concept is going to help? And this is how I'd like to introduce you to the whole subject, that the future of work is actually going to enhance equality among people and inclusion. And how will it do that? The future of work and the ability of working with any business anywhere around the world will reduce bias, because by default, businesses today, if they are able to manage their own teams remotely, ideally, then they don't need to hire from their own proximity and geographical location. So they can hire from anywhere around the world. You've seen, I'm sure, recently Facebook. Facebook have decided that in a period of 3 to 5 years, 50% and more of their total workforce will be working remote. So with that in mind, their whole strategy basically is to expand their reach when it comes to their workforce. If they have 50% of their people working remote, then it doesn't matter exactly where they are. And this whole new way of working is all around intelligent technology. So this is where we talk about the balance between tech and intelligent technology and the human. The thing is that us as people, when we think about technology, we've been conditioned to think that technology will take our jobs. There will not be enough jobs for us as humans. The robots are going to take over. Alexa is all over the place. But having said that, we as well as humans, we waste a lot of our time and potential working on a lot of mundane activities. And ideally, it is those mundane activities that will be taken away by technology. And this is where innovation is going to create this disruption. And this is where our mindset needs to shift to start thinking about technology more as an enabler. And I always give here the example around banks. I'm sure some of you who are watching this, some of you might be working in banks or worked in banks, etc. But when banks first introduced the ATM machine, they had to let go of a lot of their tellers because there was no need for that many tellers in a bank anymore. You've got the ATM machine, technology is here. It will facilitate things for both the clients and the banks. Now, the funny thing is that by introducing the ATM machine, it became less expensive for banks actually to expand, because then they need to hire less people in order to come up with a new branch somewhere. So banks started to open a branch in each and every corner of the neighborhoods. You will find branches in malls, etc., etc., which actually created new opportunities and much more jobs than they had before. And with this happening, it's actually completely different types of jobs. It's not the mundane role of a teller anymore, but it's more the banking relationship manager. It's that person who can convince you to take a loan even if you don't actually need it. So when we talk about all of that, there are some interesting facts that come up. These are some older ones, given that the speed that things that happened in the last 6 months. But in 2016, businesses, 60% of businesses, the investment of businesses in AI was about to increase by 60%, whereas 3% of the CEOs, they were only thinking about investing in their people. This means that there will be a gap. There's a lot of money that is pumped into artificial intelligence and technology, but only 3% of the CEOs are investing in upskilling and reskilling their people. And this is where the gap is happening. And this is where I always encourage people to start imagining how life would be if they actually take charge of their own learning and skilling and upskilling, and if they take charge of reaching out to virtual work, not only to make extra money, but also to upskill themselves. For example, right now, if I am working in one of the institutions that is not investing in my learning, and I'm not being exposed to working on new projects, understanding new ideas, learning new concepts, then I need to start doing this on my own. I need to take charge of my own development. So this is how today, with everything that is happening around us, we say that the open talent models are actually going mainstream. So what do I mean by open talent models? An open talent model means that as a business, I am able to reach out to talent that is present anywhere around the world, okay? Which means that I don't need to restrict myself anymore to the talent that is within my geography. And the reason why it's going mainstream today is because there's that switch that happened recently, and businesses have suddenly gone remote, most of them, even the ones who were resisting flexible working earlier. Because of the threat that happened because of the virus, they have been obliged to go remote. And something really good came out of that, is that suddenly they have realized that I can trust my employees a little bit more. I can trust that they are going to deliver on the work that I give them. I can trust that the business is still running in some of the businesses that they can run remotely. And that feeling of trust is actually mutual. So what I mean by that is, me as an employee as well, I was fearful of the fact that if I go remote, how am I going to deliver on my projects and on my work? But today, a lot of us have gone through that, and that we have developed a level of trust in our own way of working. So that mutual trust between the employer and the employee have expedited the open talent models and the remote working models that were already on a trajectory, and a lot of businesses were starting to adopt them. But now they are on a very fast trajectory where they are going mainstream. So this opens the new doors today. And those new doors that open up are new doors for what we used to call before as the alternative workforce. What does an alternative workforce mean? The alternative workforce, we used to refer to contractors, independent consultants, freelancers. We used to refer to them as the alternative workforce, which means they brought in as and when needed, but they alternatively, because everybody have their own teams, their own structures, their own full-timers, etc. And you only reach out to this talent if required, if somebody goes on maternity leave, to bridge a gap until you find the right talent, etc. With an open talent market, the alternative workforce actually becomes the workforce. How does that work? Well, think about it. If I'm a business and 50% to 40% of my people are working remotely, this means 30 to 40% of my people could be alternative. So which means that why would I hire somebody full-time for them to only work remotely when I can actually, every time I have a project, I can find the right specialist talent to plug into my project to work on it. So what will the company of the future look like? And how will people keep up with what is happening? If this is the case, when we think about it, this means that the whole organization structure actually is getting disturbed, right? So there's disruption when it comes the whole organization design and effectiveness of how are we going to work? How are we going to structure our workforce? And how am I going to take the advantage out of that as a business? Like, what's in it for me as a business? They want to work from home, I get that. It gives you the opportunity to reach out to talent that is anywhere around the world. That's excellent. But what does that mean to me? What that means is actually something that is really great. And I'm happy that we're having this discussion. And I always talk about this, that when businesses actually realize that, it's a great moment, because suddenly they actually have access to a networked talent ecosystem. What does that mean? As a business today, I have the ability, every time I have a certain particular project that I need to work on, I can work out an ecosystem around it that is formed by my core team, who are my full-timers, where I plug in external freelancers and independent contractors in order to work on this particular project. I'll give you an example just from my particular area of expertise. So from an HR perspective, for example, if we are today as a business, let's take this scenario, whereby as a business, I want to expand my business, and then suddenly we want to create a share scheme. We will go public, etc., etc. Ideally, in a normal scenario, the business would have hired a total reward expert, would have brought in Deloitte, or KPMG, Deloitte, Accenture, etc. And along with the COE, who's the talent total reward expert, who will be leading the project, they will work with that big consulting company in order to get that project done. With a network talent ecosystem, I don't need to hire that total reward person anymore. What I can do is I can reach out to that person through online platforms in order to work on this particular project. But my internal HR director will continue taking accountability of the project. And I don't need to reach out to the big consulting company, which is the likes of the Deloitte, etc., and drain my budget, because that particular total reward expert will be able to reach out to other consultants that are available on freelance basis, put a full virtual team together to help me to deliver on this particular project. So this whole new way of working and thinking, it actually challenges our belief of work, because we've always thought that, even in the morning, I'm sure every one of you previously, before, when you wake up in the morning and you get ready to go to work, you tell your family, okay, I'm going now to work. I'll see you later. But moving forward, work is not a place that we go to anymore. Work is going to be something that we do and we enjoy, and we can actually do it from anywhere. It can be, I'm going to the garden to start working. It could be, I'm going to the coffee shop to start working. It could be, I'm just switching on my laptop today. And this is where businesses will realize that, why would I settle for a talent that I can afford today? So to pay full time, you need to afford that talent. But when you pay per project, you can get the best talent that is out there, that is the most specialized one to work on your project, because it's a one-time thing, right? So this whole new way of working is location agnostic. You don't really care where the person is. What's their nationality? You would care what language they speak, because maybe you want it in English, in French, in any other language. But whether the person is in the neighborhood right next to me as my business, or whether that person is based anywhere around the world, it doesn't really matter. Location becomes irrelevant. And this is the opportunity that I always think about in terms of South Africa and the African continent. We have great talent that is present in South Africa and the African continent in general. Great talent, amazing skills, depth of expertise, but opening doors of opportunities for those people to work on projects that are available anywhere around the world. This is the open talent market. And I've always thought about that from a unemployment perspective, or from a job creation perspective. Because when we think job creation, we think SMEs, small businesses, etc., creating new jobs and opportunities locally, physically. But then today, if we are able to leverage on those platforms and grow platforms within the African continent, and open doors of opportunities for the people that are here to reach out to projects that are available anywhere around the world. Can you see the beauty of that? But in order to do that, we need to have an open talent mindset. Not only businesses, but also, I would say, the government, I would say the bodies that are encouraging small businesses, etc., to start thinking differently, that work actually could be done anywhere. And when we think about this whole new way of working from an open talent mindset, there's a shift there that happens, that I don't hire somebody full-time anymore. And if I don't hire that person full-time, I can reach out to them when I need them to work on projects. This means I don't own this talent anymore as a business. And I don't have exclusive access to them. So that means that if I am MTN, for example, and I reach out to somebody to work on a project for me, Vodacom could be reaching out to that person the week after to do a project for them. So this challenges the whole way of working and the whole model of exclusivity, etc. It's It's more built on trust. I trust that that person is a professional. I trust that that person who is working on my project is exclusively working on my project at the moment and will not share whatever information we've worked on together. So you see that's the different mindset. And it's just that this new way of working is actually it's very important for how businesses what they're looking for today. Today, businesses are looking for fairly priced quality. Fairly priced is very important because, and especially small to medium-sized businesses whereby they got hit by the current situation. They had to pivot the way of working. They had to readjust. A lot of them had to think of different ways of working, but they still want to produce quality service, quality product, etc. But they want that in a fairly priced way. So with that in mind, businesses today appreciate the flexibility of not having to hire somebody full time, the flexibility of being able to reach out to those people only when you need them. You don't need to put them full time on the payroll. But as well, the speed. So which means that if today we think about a certain particular project, I'll be able to get somebody straight away to help me to get it delivered, not go through a hiring process that can take me 3 to 6 months to find that right person, to get them to give their notice period wherever they are working somewhere else, etc., in order to bring them on board. But as well, it will help me to sustain my own business, because when I'm able to deliver on my business objectives, while at the same time leveraging on talents that are specialists and the ability to manage my costs and my payroll, then I'll be able to sustain myself. This is where I always think about small businesses, but as well entrepreneurs who have that great idea, they're working on it, and they are on a high growth trajectory. All what they need is to get things done quickly. They want the flexibility, they want quality that is fairly priced, and they want sustainability. Again, entrepreneurs, companies like Unilever, who encourage entrepreneurs. And what I mean by that is people within their organization, within the Unilever organization, that come up with a great idea, and they take it from idea into execution and into growth. As well, they want speed, sustainability, flexibility, fairly priced quality. In order to do all of that, underneath all of this, the underlying core way of working is adaptability. So, and that will be the differentiator moving forward for most businesses, because in order for me to adapt to what is happening, I need to adopt an outside-in approach to my business. What I mean by that is I need to deliver on what is required by the client and by the customer. So the client and the customer are the ones that actually dictate how I should be doing my business internally. And today, clients, they also, I'm going to go back to this, they also want fairly priced quality. Today, clients, they want the flexibility. I want to be able to deliver whenever I need to, but I don't need to commit to a membership. Today, clients, they need speed. I need companies to adjust with speed. Today, clients also want sustainability. Well, I'm gonna give you an example as a consumer, and I'm sure most of you have gone through that. Businesses that are big giants like Woolworths, they had to adjust very quickly in order to expand their delivery system, because everybody wants to deliver, right? But small operators like One Cart, like Zulzi, etc., they were able to adjust with a much higher speed because they are much smaller, etc. And they were flexible. They were able to reach out and to bring in freelancers to help them to deliver their goods. And now they are trying to work on it in order to make it more sustainable. And this is the differentiator. This is the adaptability. This is the new way of working, where businesses today, as big as they are also trying to put in that entrepreneurial hat and think, okay, how am I going to do things differently? How am I going to be innovative, flexible, agile? How am I going to produce value but get value in return? And I need to do this very fast. So from a skill-based open talent model, we need to think, okay, how is this going to help my business? It will help me to innovate and to problem solve at the precise moment that I need it in order to move forward. And this is where speed comes in. So today I came up with an idea as a business. We have an executive committee. We've decided that we need to hit the ground running and we need to introduce this particular product. In order to introduce this particular product, which is new and innovative, we need to have somebody who's going to work on the product, work on the idea, work on the marketing, do the design, do the communication, etc. Build the whole storyboarding around this particular product that we're putting out the market. If I don't have the team internally, I should be able to reach out to people to help me out to do that. And with an open talent mindset, I'll be able to do this. I'll be able to access those critical skills flexibly without the long-term commitment. So in this particular example that I'm giving you, I'll be able to reach out to a digital marketing specialist who will help me to carve out my story and to put it out there in all digital platforms and social media. I don't need to hire that digital specialist today. But as well, once I start adopting as a business an open talent model, then I will feel more powerful, right? Because suddenly I don't have that core team of 5, 10, 20, 30, 50, 100 people. I actually have an augmented workforce, because whatever that I need, I'll be able to reach out to talent that is available anywhere around the world and reach out to that talent pool with depth of expertise, plug them into my organization. Remember, we spoke about the networked talents. So I will be able to build up a workforce around the project. And this is where online platforms come to play, because online platforms that are specialized and niche, for example, online platforms that are around digital marketing, web design, like our platform, which is One Circle, it's for HR consultants. There's online platforms that are for communication, art, etc. So reach out to that pool that has been already vetted, validated, and and those platforms provide a safe payment process. So your risks as a business are much more less. One amazing advantage as well of the skill-based talent models is that you'll be able to inject your projects with speed, but as well with freshness of thought. So what does that mean? In the usual context of way of working, when I am a department head and I have my team, the innovation is limited to what I have in my team. So if I am to sit and brainstorm and do some design thinking with my team, there's only that much that's going to come out of them. The first time it will be excellent, very creative. The second time it will be The third time, it's the same ideas that they're coming out with, right? Whereby, if I'm able to have a virtual roundtable with experts in this area that I'm trying to innovate in, and then do a creative thinking session with them to bring in more freshness of thought into my own team, then that will be amazing, right? And this is one of the main features of having an open talent model or an open talent mindset. In addition to, as we said, effectiveness, right? Because it keeps your costs in check. You are not obliged anymore to hire those people full time. You'll be able to reach out to them on project basis, and you set your project when a budget. So if your budget for that project is 50,000 rands, 100,000 rands, etc., you will always be able to negotiate based on that project, because consultants or talent that are very specialized and have depth of expertise, they might have worked on that particular project that you have like 10 times before. So the speed at which they'll be able to deliver on your project will be very high. And this is all worth money today in this new way of working and this new age that we are in. The quicker you are, this is worth money, because you'll be out to market first. You will be able to deliver on customers' expectations first, etc. So yes, this creates more a dynamic team structure. So we will, very soon we're going to forget about the hierarchical traditional structures, and we're going to start thinking, okay, my team is actually whoever I have core with me full time, but it's augmented as and when I need it. And this is where you have more of an evenly distributed decision making. So even the people that you are reaching out to on freelance or independent contractor basis, they have the ability to actually help you with the decision making, because they will provide you with all the tools that you would require. They will give you insights. They can even give you insights on how other companies have used that and what was the return on that. What are some of the success stories, but as well, what are some of the failures, in order for you to learn and not to actually end up doing the same mistakes that other people did. So from a people perspective, this means that organizations will start moving away from having a rigid role, which means a CEO or a head of HR or a digital marketing specialist, etc. We are going to start seeing a move towards skill sets. So even when you see a job that is advertised, it's going to be more of a project that requires a certain skill set. So the hiring managers and the talent acquisition specialists will also need to start thinking differently. They will start hiring more for skills instead of hiring for full-time roles. So this whole awaited pivot for HR from an organization effectiveness, from a way of working, from roles and jobs, hierarchies, etc., job grading, this whole thing is going to pivot very soon. So I'm going to skip all of that because we discussed it. So this is important here, because, so what is the secret? You know, you think that, is there like a secret sauce? How are we going to make this work? Like, what is the underlying core thing that everybody needs to know? I would say it is trust. And trust works both ways. Trust from an employee and a worker perspective, and trust from an employer and business perspective. Well, why a trust from an employee and a worker perspective is that today, if I am going to have an open talent mindset, and I'm going to start working on projects online, virtually, on collaboration platforms, etc. I want to put myself out there as a specialist in my field. I need to build the trust in my way of working, and I need to build my online profile. So people will actually trust me when they want to work with me. They will see recommendations from other companies. They will see good ratings around me. They will trust that whenever they give me a project, I'm going to deliver on it. Trust from a business perspective, because suddenly businesses will start trusting strangers. They will start trusting people who are not full-time on their payrolls. They'll start trusting people who don't have exclusivity to work with them. They will start trusting people who are just flexible, who could be working anywhere. They don't own this talent anymore, right? So this is where both people and businesses need to take this trust leap. And here I'm going to give you a very good example around the trust stack. What does that mean in the whole concept of open talent markets, etc.? Think about Uber, Airbnb. I mean, now Airbnb is going through trouble, but think about Uber, Airbnb. Think about platforms like freelancer.com, like OneCircle HR, like Upwork, etc. And these are platforms that connect businesses with third parties, right? And it all started as an idea. People started trusting the idea that I can share a bicycle, I can share a car, I can share a home, I can share talent. Then they started trusting the platform itself. That actually works. You know, I can pay online, I can find the right talent online, etc. Then they started trusting the user. So, which means I see the rating of this particular host on Airbnb and I think, okay, that must be a good host because they've got a 5-star rating. I order an Uber and I see the driver rating is amazing. He's done 5,000 trips and I was rated X. Then suddenly I have a better level of trust. Same thing. I see that this particular web designer has done 500 projects and he's been rating 4.5, and these are the comments. So I start trusting that particular user. And this is where businesses will start shifting in their way of working, their way of thinking, but as well in their own culture and how it is structured. So when we talk about the platform economy and platforms like OneCircle HR, like Upwork, like Freelance, like all of those platforms that are out there, whether they are niche, specialized, or generic, they generate 30% of the global economic activity, which means around $60 trillion. But very few companies are actually built up or structured to leverage on all of that. Big companies, very soon, they're going to start reducing the restrictions when it comes to their procurement departments. And reaching out to talent and hiring talent online through a platform will become like buying an air ticket to travel. You just go in, you put in your project, you put in your credit card, you get the person to work on your project, they deliver on your project, you're done. Okay, exactly like buying an airline ticket. Would you as a company need actually to go through a full procurement process to do that? And so this is the shift that we are talking about when we talk about open talent mindsets, etc. There's a lot of tools that are out there. I know there was the question that came out yesterday, I think, that was shared with me by Hazel about project management. So how can I, as a business, project manage all of those different talents that I'm bringing into the business and then creating this open talent ecosystem? There are a lot of tools out there. Mainly there are tools that are coming out that can help you to manage remote teams and to plug in external consultants and for them to collaborate on one particular tool. There's a lot of startups that are out there that are doing that because they realize that gap and that opportunity, and they're working on this. So very soon, right now you have your SAP, you have your Oracle to manage your people internally. Very soon you're gonna have another system that is out there whereby your internal core teams will be able to work and to collaborate with freelancers, independent consultants, etc., in that particular environment. And this is where the thinking will start to shift. That as a business, I've always been thinking about my internal culture, my employee value proposition as an EVP. How can I become attractive to freelancers and independent consultants? So that particular specialist that I need to work on my project, why would he prefer to work on my project instead of working on a project with another company? Why would he work with MTN instead of working with Vodacom? Why would he work with Spire instead of working with Woolworths, etc.? So this is the shift that we are talking about. I still have so much to share with you, but I can see that in the Q&A there's around 14 questions. So I'm just gonna stop sharing my screen now in order for me to see the questions and maybe address these ones as they go. Okay, I can see a lot of comments, but I'm not sure which ones are the question.
Emma, thank you very much for your insightful and inspiring presentation.
Thank you, Prof.
Indeed, we really need to shift our current mindsets and change to adapt a new open talent mindset, as you so wonderfully quoted and, used that terminology. That is very, very interesting. Indeed, embracing the flexible and augmented team will bring in the flexibility, as you so well said during your presentation. So yes, it is critical to have our mutual trust and enhance the team that we are working with. So I think, without any more summaries of what you've said, I think yes, we can take some of the questions that have been placed on the Q&A, and even all the others that you don't manage to address, we certainly will provide answers to our participants.
Okay. Okay, we are consumed by the status that comes with being permanent and the benefits and security that comes with it. How do we readjust and adapt to this flexibility? Today is a very typical example of what is happening, right? We've always thought that if we have a full-time job, we are secure and we are safe. But a lot of people today, because of what is happening from the current dynamics and the current economy, suddenly they're gonna get redundant, and there's a lot of companies that are reducing headcounts. So safety is more of I would say more of that idea that I am safe because I'm getting a fixed salary every month. But actually that fixed salary can go at any point in time. How would we adjust? I would say that, and this is an advice that we actually give to our freelancers, is that you don't need to adjust and readjust with a flick of a switch. You need to start thinking differently. You need to say that, let me, even if I'm still working and I have the safety and security of the paycheck at the end of the month, let me start experiencing and experimenting what an open talent market is. Let me start working on my own reputation and put myself out there online. Let me do my homework and find the right platforms that actually can help me. Let me build my profile. Over the weekends, on the evenings, let me start working on some of the projects and earn that extra income. And suddenly, your whole mindset will shift. You will start thinking that, wow, I'm actually still secure in my job, but I've got a sidekick, right? That side gig is that I'm working on projects. I'm able to earn that extra money, that extra income. It's keeping me excited. I'm learning new things. So this whole new way is, yes, we need to readjust and we need to think differently, but let's start to do that before we actually need it. What I mean is try to get yourself onto platforms, experiment, read more about freelancing, take charge of your own reputation online, and that will help. Okay, I have another question here. How do you suggest to extend this policy to medical education that is skills-based and requires patient contact, okay? Working from home remotely. Okay, so I would say, look, this is not applicable to everything, right? There must be, if I have a patient, I need to physically help that patient. So let's carve this one out. But there's also some other bits that could be taken care of. One, which is education. So there could be a lot of online learning that could be done and leveraging through technology as well. There are a lot of apps, and I'm not sure if Reina, if you're aware about that. There are a lot of apps that are out there whereby you'll be able to reach out to doctors online. So you'll be able to communicate with them. You'll be able to diagnose with them. They will help you out as much as needed, as much as they can, in order to reduce the need to actually go to a clinic or to a hospital. One more thing is, from a platform economy perspective and an open talent market, there are new apps out there that whereby you can book a doctor that is within your area, and that doctor will show up at your door in a matter of minutes. And how do you book that doctor? Exactly just like Uber, right? You find within your geography, you put in your particular details and your symptoms, what you are feeling. It picks up the doctors that can actually help you, the one that is the quickest, and then they will show up at your door. So if you want to think about it like a freelance doctor, this is exactly like a freelance doctor. So you're reaching out to them because you are trusting the platform and you're trusting the other users that have rated them. And I hope I answered your question.
Emma, I have another question from Brian Giba. His question is, what changes would you suggest in the basic conditions of Employment Act to protect employees within a country if employers can now tap into alternative workforce anywhere in the world?
There's a lot to be worked on from an employment. You're on mute. Okay, cool. There's a lot to be tapped into from an employment law perspective. So this is a big area that requires attention, especially in South Africa. There's a lot of protection on the employee side, and there's not much that has been worked on from an alternative workforce side. So it works both ways, right? I think the question was from the perspective, if I am an employee here, would my employer be able to let me go because they can reach out to an alternative talent that is based anywhere, US, UK, Australia, anywhere around the world? But it's as well, it's vice versa, because this means that me as a talent that is based here, I'm also able to work on projects that are based in those same countries. We can think about this more of like a danger to the local talent market, or we think about it more as an opportunity for the local talent market to work on projects that are available worldwide. I personally would like to think about it more of as an opportunity, because look, it's going to happen, right? And with businesses wanting specialist talent at a reduced cost, then this is going to come anyway.
There's another, thanks, Emma. There's another question from Dr. Ella Gandhi. She's asking, should education institutions, oh gosh, now it has moved, sorry. Let's take Mandengosi's one. We'll come back to Dr. Gandhi's. When accessing the talent ecosystem, how do we make sure that we are complying with the BBBEE transformation agenda in South Africa?
Yes. So this is a very tricky one. There is there is no way to do that at the moment, and that's actually one of the things that we are working on from a One Circle perspective. Is how can we help make that distinction as well, and help out not only businesses to be compliant, but as well to create opportunities to people who actually need them. There is nothing that will help you to stay compliant today. Hopefully in the future, when a lot of those platforms are out there, there will be a system that is worked out whereby businesses that are giving projects and investing in this particular talent will be able to as well comply. So we're actually putting a proposal together in order to hopefully lead the way on this. But there's nothing right now on this particular front.
Okay, let's go back to Ella Gandhi's. Should education institutions look at new fields of study and new curricular development so that every faculty also has technological knowledge included in its curricula?
Definitely, definitely. The thing is that we are shaping the new generation, and shaping the new generation to prepare them to this new way of working has a lot of positives on many sides. And one that stands out for me is, if I am a university student and I'm about to graduate, if my school helps me with that open talent mindset, I leave university and I graduate knowing that I can find a job anywhere around the world. I can work remotely. I can work on projects that are with any business that are in any particular country. I graduate not worrying about unemployment. I graduate not worrying about finding a job that is down the road from my house because I cannot afford the transportation. So the whole positive mindset that it puts and in other words, it puts the student and the graduate in a completely different mindset and outlook to life and to the future. So they graduate knowing that they already can have opportunities. Now, today there are platforms out there that help internships, virtual internships. So you, as a university student, a lot of universities will request in the last term, etc., or if you're in a master's degree to do internship in certain businesses, and this is where everybody goes to the net banks, etc., that are offering those internships. But however, there are platforms out there that could connect interns from anywhere around the world with other businesses. So today I could be doing internship with Facebook in the US instead of thinking about doing internship with Absa Bank, just because I can, right? And introducing as universities and as education bodies, vetting those platforms, introducing them as part of the curriculum or internship way of working helps as well put the graduates and the students in a completely different mindset, and this will really help, because these are the people that are going into the market usually 6 months to 12 months down the line after they graduate. They get into depression because they can't find a job, whereas if we help them to do that, they've already gained that international experience and they already know how to use those platforms to work. So I hope I answered the question.
Thanks. We have another one from Dimitra Pillay. Dimitra's question is, what are the recommendations for a country such as South Africa, which has limited platforms to freelance or perform online work?
South Africa can grow exponentially when we focus on their SMEs. And we know that already. And there's a lot of work that's being done on this particular front. So there's a lot of investment that is pumped into SMEs in order to get them to pass the 3 to 4 danger period. Because unfortunately, as we know, SMEs, a lot of them, and the majority of them, and I think it's, if I recall correctly, more than 70 to 80% of them don't pass the 3 to 4 year period. So they fail right before that. Several reasons there's several reasons why businesses fail. The small to medium enterprises, they fail, and one of them is because they run out of cash quickly. Maybe their idea is not scalable, and it's not what the customer and the client needs. But one very important point, and this is based on theories and studies, is that they don't have the right team and they don't have the right specialist expertise. So building the right team is very important for SMEs. Why am I saying that? In order for them to build the right team, lots of times they hire people. And when they hire people full-time, they end up paying a lot, and then they get into that vicious cycle of they can't afford to pay them. So they settle down for a cheaper talent, and then basically they don't have the right team. And if they bring the right people, they run out of cash. So leveraging on platforms that can give them access to this specialist talent to build up their network ecosystem would be amazing. So, which means that the talent of platforms could be actually an enabler for SMEs to grow in South Africa. And I see this, like when we talk about the fourth industrial revolution and then the committee that the president has put together, this is really amazing stuff. But nobody is looking at this aspect. Nobody is looking at, okay, how can I enable those SMEs? And then in order to do that, let me build the ecosystem around them. So what is the ecosystem that they require? Other than seminars and webinars and then trainings, etc., I need to provide them with services and suppliers that give them access to the right level of expertise, to the depth of expertise at a very minimal cost that they can afford without the long-term commitment and with the flexibility. And I really hope that's that will happen. I actually wrote an article around that in the CHRO magazine from an ecosystem, from an enabling ecosystem for SMEs.
Can we take one last one, and then the rest will be dealt with privately? This one is from Justin Chadwick. He wants to know, how do you develop the trust with staff to allow them to work remotely?
From a leadership perspective, so this is the fine balance between on this journey to developing the trust, and a lot of them get stuck in micromanagement. So leaders end up micromanaging their people, pinging them the whole time, putting them onto conference calls, etc. And actually, remote work is a journey. So there's from a one circle perspective recently, and I'm sure a lot of people will find it useful. We did a partnership project along with the SABPP, the South Africa Board for People Practice, whereby we launched a remote work framework and a remote work playbook, and it's available on their website. And it's basically to help businesses on this journey to building the trust, and from a leader perspective, how do we manage that psychological safety? So it's that psychological safety from both the employer and the employee perspective. How did we go onto this journey until we get that high level of trust? So there are several elements that need to be tackled from a leadership perspective, etc. And the communication around that is very important. So in a nutshell, I would say it's a big thing. I would encourage you check the SABP website as well. But in a nutshell, I would say the trust needs to be earned. And the only way to do that is to focus on the deliverables. So when you are in a remote work environment, you need to focus on a timeline, and you need to focus on the deliverable and what is required, and communicate that properly. And only then the trust will be earned from the employer side. Once we deliver on time and the right level of quality and exactly what is required.
Thanks, Emma. We'll hand over now to Prof. Martin.
Thank you very much, Emma. And thank you for the wonderful responses, insightful responses. Indeed, it is a path that all organizations and individuals need to walk and obviously become familiar with as we go post-COVID as well. I'd also like to thank Dr. Abdullah Kader from Nedbank for connecting us with Emma. This is very much appreciated. And I'd also like especially to thank Hazel Langer and her PR team for all the efforts and preparation in organizing this seminar. Thank you very much. And every participant will be pleased to know that the recording for this webinar will be available on the GSB&L website later on today. And we encourage everyone to send us further suggestions on topics that you would like us to cover in the near future. Indeed, this will ensure that we bring together the experts that can shed light, just as Emma has done today, and enable us to understand the complex issues that we are faced with. So your suggestions can be sent directly to our PR manager, Hazel Langer, and the email address is langerh@ukzn.ac.za. And without any other words, I would like to thank you once again, Emma, for this very insightful take on the so-called open talent model and the new mindset that we all have to embrace if indeed our organizations are to be sustainable in the near future. Absolutely. This ecosystem is very, very much part of us already. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I wish everybody a great day ahead, and everybody stay well. Thank you.
Thanks, Prof. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye, everybody.